Greetings and welcome to Patriot 6 Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, friends. Today I'm on the Ohio River near Smithland, Kentucky, a place I'm very familiar with, and at this location right here is Smithland Lock and Dam. And this is not a 3D photogrammetry area, but you may notice right off the bat there is no dam. I'm going to build this dam using parts that are available to me in the scenery library and with a couple of free add-ons. And I will show you everything I use to do this, and I will link the free add-ons. But most importantly, I use my imagination. When it comes to building scenery, I can be very resourceful and find items in the scenery library that were maybe built for one thing, and I'll turn it around and use it for another. I'm going to do something that anybody can do without 3D modeling, and that's rebuild this dam. If you're new to building scenery, or if you've never built scenery before, if you'll look in the description below on the Show More, you will see a link to tutorials that I built. It's about 20 minutes worth of tutorials. However, these tutorials will teach you everything you need to know to do what I'm getting ready to do here. And not only that, it will teach you the basics that you need to know to do all kinds of scenery, from cities to airports, or whatever you can come up with your own imagination. Be sure to check out the tutorials if you're unfamiliar with building scenery. The tutorials will get you set up with everything from building packages and the basic tools that I use to do this job. And with that, I will get started. Before I upload each video, I go through the video and mark timelines to set chapters. And I do this to make it more convenient for the viewer. Anytime you're watching one of the videos, you can drop down to the description, tick on the Show More, and as you roll through the Show More, it will have pertinent information like the Patriot Six Channel, the Patriot Six Scenery Group, Discord, any videos that I believe are relevant to the subject, and then you get into the chapters of the video. This is the subject content, and here are the basic tutorials. You can skip around, or you can come back and find a chapter that you may need to rewatch later simply by ticking on the number, and you will immediately go to the chapter that you selected. So to rebuild this dam, it would be very helpful if we could see the dam. The dam seems to be covered with water. So let's try something here. Let's go ahead and build a polygon, exclude the water, and then we should be able to see the dam on the surface. It's a two-dimensional plane image. I am in developer's mode, so I need to go up to the developer menu, the editors, and open the project editor. And the inspector come up. If the inspector does not come up for you, you can get to it from the project editor. Go to view and tick on inspector. I'm going to load up a test scenery folder that I use when I'm building test scenery for tutorials. I already have built this dam in a previous package, and I have that package saved. So I'm going to project, open project, and I need to navigate to the working scenery folder, which I use, and that's something you will learn if you watch the tutorials. And here's the test scenery folder, so I'm going to open it, drop down to the bottom XML, tick on it, and open. And the inspector is already filled out, so I don't have to do any work with that, but I cover it thoroughly in the tutorials. I'm going to the BGL, and on the inspector I'm going to load in the editor, and it's going to take a while for everything to load in. Okay, the scenery library has loaded in. The first thing I need to do is get rid of the water so we can see what's hidden below. On the Objects window, Object Type, I'm going to change from Scenery to Polygon. And I'm going to draw a polygon around this area. Now the polygon's complete. I'm going to go to the scenery editor. I'm going to the menu, view, and I want to bring up the properties. Mine hides over here on the inspector, and I just keep it there so I have more room to see on the screen. So on the properties, I'm going to water, and I want to exclude and find out what kind of water this is. It's most likely river. And there we go. The river's excluded, and now we can see what's below. Let's start with this section here, which is gray rock. And I'm going to build a polygon and cover this area. And to make sure it doesn't get covered again, I'm going to the properties. I'm going to exclude river. And I think we'll be okay with that. Let's do a little test here. Let's take our larger polygon and delete it. And that's good. We see now that we're going to be okay. Now I'm going to undo what I just did and bring the polygon back. And make sure I'm ticked on this polygon here. Now since this is an exclusion polygon, I'm going to have to make another polygon. So the easiest thing to do is just to hit duplicate. And now I have two polygons. And make sure I'm ticked on the copy, and I am. And I'm going to get rid of the water, and I'm going to go with the material. I'm going to look under a Sobo ground, and I hope to find a rock. Gravel ground, let's try that. Going to grab the gravel and drag it up on the properties window into the material slot. Now that's a little darker than I like, so I'm going on the properties window, I'm going to coloration and see if I can find a more light gray look. I think that'll work. Okay. Now let's start with the dam. First of all, we have buildings generating here. And so let's get rid of those. I'm going to add another polygon and build around here and get rid of the AI generated buildings. And on this polygon on the properties, I'm going to buildings, exclude all. And there we go. We have a much cleaner look to work with. In the scenery library, I found a wall fence. So I'm going up to the objects. I'm going back to scenery. I'm going to tick all. And I'm going to look for a wall underscore fence underscore 01. And here is the fence that I used. So let's go ahead and add it. And find it. Very small. However, let's take the scale up. So let's take the scale up to 26.5. That's the scale I used in my previous build. Alright, that gives us a pretty good size wall. So on the gizmo, we're going to rotate this around and get it straight. It might take a second, but I'll get it straight. So that's a pretty good size wall. So let's see if it's going to work out. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to back up, and I'm going back over to the scenery editor, and I need to find the water polygon here, and I want to delete. We see that the wall that I put up can be seen. I'm going to undo and remove the water again. Now let's check on this object and duplicate and cross the river. You may have to zoom in to make sure that you've lined it up well. One more duplication, and I'm going to slide it to here and make sure it's lined up. Now we have our wall. So another item that I used is called a concrete edge pillar, which I also found in the scenery library. I'm going to search doing concrete underscore edge underscore pillar. And here it is. And let's add. And it's very small, so let's up the scale. So on the gizmo, I'm going to take the scale up to 67.67. So let's rotate this around. And translate. And slide it into place. And this is a little larger than what I need, so I'm going to go over to the scale on the gizmo, and I'm going to scale this down a bit until it fits the purpose. Back to translate. Okay. On the properties window, let's remove snap to ground. And on the gizmo under translate, let's sink this down in the ground. So now what I'm going to do on the scenery editor is I'm going to duplicate and fill in all of these squares. And I'll continue to duplicate until I have them all covered. And there we go. So now let's grab another one of these pillars, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to scale it up to 67.67. And there we go. Let's bring it over here. And let's use the gizmo and get it rotated around. And it may take a little bit, but we're going to change the axis of this. So I think it's in pretty good shape now. Let's square it up with the wall here. We'll translate and move closer. Zoom in a little bit and make sure we're heading in the correct direction. Alright, looks pretty close. I can live with that. Now while on translate, let's slide it to the thicker areas of the dam. And duplicate and use the same object over and over and try to make sure that you have them matched up pretty good. Another duplicate. And I'm going to duplicate again, and I want to spin this around in the opposite direction. I want the bevel to face this end. Now let's go ahead and duplicate this end one here and bring it over to here. And I already have one here, so I'll grab this end one and duplicate. Just grab one in the middle and duplicate. Bring it over here. We want to make sure that this is all elevated above the water. Now let's work on the smaller portions here, and we'll use the same concrete that we used to build the dam, and I'll duplicate and move it. And let's rotate it into the right position. And I'll translate and get it over closer to make sure I have the angle I want. Alright, let's duplicate and move more into place. Now we can go over here and grab one of these pillars here and duplicate and bring it here. And let's duplicate this and bring it over here. So that this fits, let's go to scale on the gizmo and scale this down. We want to hide it within the concrete there. Actually, we may be better off using one of these. So I'll duplicate. Slide it over here and rotate it around. And let's go on the gizmo to scale and scale this baby down. I'm going to remove the snap to ground and raise this up. Now let's finish off our lock with these pieces here. Duplicate and sliding into position. And you can remove the snap to ground, and if you want to go to the trouble of making all of these perfect, you can do that. I'll show you how to do it, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to make them all perfect. If you start to see your angles getting off a little bit, you can always adjust it. Now we need to form the gates for the lock. And I think I can use what I've already used, so let's duplicate and move and scale it down quite a bit. Alright, I think we can use these pieces and just duplicate for these other gates. Now we only need a couple more things to complete this dam. So this comes from a package from flightsim.to, and I will link it above. It is a seaplane bridge. It's parts from a mod where you can build seaplane landings on the water. And I'm using a portion of this because, like I said, I'm very resourceful. I'm going to type in the scenery editor, JAY_BC Bridge. And I'm going with metal, and I'm going to add, and I'm going with a scale of 2.58. And now I'm going to rotate it around. I want it to be at the same angle as the dam. I think that's close. Now, I want to remove snap to ground on the properties. And I want to raise this up so that it's elevated with the top of the dam. Let's go ahead and duplicate one of these and move it over. Now let's slide this up against it with a translate. And now let's duplicate and cross a river. Well, let's save the scenery. And let's release the water now. So let's add some minor touches to it. I'm going on the objects window. I'm going to look on the packages side, and I'm looking for Niagara. Niagara Sim. This is also something I found in flightsim.to, and this is pretty neat. Someone animated the falls, so I'm going to use this. Let's see what we have. Let's add. Okay. Rotate it around. Now I'm going to briefly unpause the sim and see which way this is rotating. I do have an aircraft out there floating in the air, and I don't have damage turned off, so if it crashes, we shut down. Okay, right direction. Now let's scale this down. We'll have some water coming through, not every gate, but some of the gates. I don't know, maybe every other one. That's the way these hydro dams work here. They open the gates and the water flows out. Let's unpause for a second and get a look at it. Nice. Let's add some lights on it. I'm just going to go with street light. And I think I can find that in lamp. But I want to make sure I'm ticked on all the packages. And a single will be fine, I think. So it's snap to ground, so we need to remove the snap to ground and raise it up. And get close enough we can see the bottom of it. And now let's rotate it around in the direction we want. So let's duplicate and put one on each pillar. And again, the reason I'm duplicating is because I'm duplicating the parameters. And I remove snap to ground and set it up in elevation. So I want to make sure I capture those parameters with each light. And let's rotate this one around towards the water. Let's make some duplicates and slide them down through here. And as I go by, you see the imperfections in my placing. That's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect for me to give you an idea how to do this. When you build your own, if you build your own, you can make it as perfect as you want. Let's duplicate and move over here. And let's spin this one around also. Going to try to match them up on each side. All right, let's add a double. And we're going to have to go through the same thing again in terms of rotating. Now that I have it in the right elevation, I'm just going to duplicate and run down through here and try to match up the lights on each size. Let's go ahead and save the scenery. Let's go ahead and add some double lights here. Now I'm not going to mess with the river because I've covered that in a previous tutorial called Rivers, Lakes, and Ponds, where I actually add the river back here. Let's go ahead and save the scenery and build the package. Good, we don't have any errors. The package is built. So let's shut the tools down. So let's go ahead and move this package in the community folder. There's the community folder, and I'll bring up the working scenery folder, and I'll bring up the test scene package. That's the one I was working in. And I will open up the packages and copy and paste in the community folder. Now, if you use the add-on linker, you wouldn't put it in your community folder. You would put it in whatever folder you have set up for your scenery. And now let's restart the sim and see what happens. So the simulator is now loaded back up with the project that I created and moved to the community folder. Going to pause the sim, hit ready to fly. And let's jump into developer camera and go see what we have. And we now have a dam where we did not have a dam earlier. I'm going to temporarily unpause the simulator so we can see the animation from the Niagara sim. And we see the water rolling. I'll pause the sim again and let's change the time of day. See how this looks. And there we go. Smithland Lock and Dam, where before it was totally covered with water. And this is something that anybody can do with imagination. That's all I used was my imagination. I'm a master at going around and looking at different pieces and parts that I have in the scenery library. And particularly if I'm wanting to build something, I'll look at what I'm wanting to build and say, what does that look like? Or what do I have that looks like it? Then I'll go in and find parts and scale them up and do what I have to do to make them look right. Now, this is not perfect. You can see some imperfections based on your perspective. But keep in mind, this is a tutorial, and time is a factor when I'm making a video. I don't want them to be any longer than they have to be. I will tell you, I was not quite as precise with this as the one that I built for my own personal use. But it's a pretty good looking dam. But I didn't want to keep you any longer than I have to. Tickle your brain, make you think, what can I do with the parts I have? You will be amazed at what you can do. And I hope you got something from this. I hope you got some ideas from this. Because everything I did here, you can do. There's nothing special about me at all. I just happen to have played around and learned how to do this stuff on my own. So thank you for watching Patriot 6. If you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. It helps the channel out a lot. I will continue to make videos as long as the interest is there and the channel is growing, not stagnated. It is time consuming to make videos, and time I may be flying and having a good time, I'm making videos for you folks. Please like and subscribe. Hey, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. There's limits to what we can solve in chat, but I do have a Facebook group page with a lot of good people on there. And I'm not the only one that helps out with scenery. There's other people that do. So we have questions that are asked and questions get answered. And there is a Discord group. I will link it below. And I would appreciate if you join the social network. And when things go out of date, I will make a new video and show the older one is obsolete. Save you time. So again, thanks for watching. This is Patriot 6 and you can do this. And I'll see you soon.